Okay, so we're here this morning with the Honorable Judge Smith, who is also a Lac du Flambeau school board member who's running for re-election. And Judge Smith, you also serve on the LUHS board, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll get right into it. What are some of the issues you think that are facing the school right now? Like what are maybe the one or two things that you see stand out as far as issues the school is facing?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the interview.
Sure.
Thanks for the call last night. And I did jot some notes down here for
Okay.
some of the questions, so I hope you don't mind if I
No,
refer to those notes
absolutely.
and stuff.
Preparation, that's
So,
good.
yeah. So, plus I can read better with these up. So,
Okay.
anyway, that was one or two issues.
Yeah,
you
what do
say?
you think are like, I actually asked you when I sent you the questions, what are like the three top, but
Yeah.
let's just focus on like, what are one or two of the big issues you see at the school?
Well, number one for me is the safety of the children.
Okay,
It's too bad that in the world today there are so many unfortunate happenings that happen in the schools. And we work hard, the school board and I, to make sure that safety is number one by providing the doors that are there as soon as you walk into the school. We have ordered some bulletproof. Unfortunately, we have to go to the extent of getting bulletproof glass for the entryway
Okay.
and for some of the classrooms. And so safety is number one. Number two, I think some of the issues that our kids face in our grade school is the transition to the high school.
okay,
That's a difficult one. They come from a school where they are 99% the majority to a school where they are 25% of the minority. So, and they struggle with that. And there are several issues that we deal with. One is Lac du Flambeau is a small school. We work really hard to make sure that our teacher to student ratio is very small. Sometimes it's 13-1.
okay,
We budget for that. In the past, we did receive some grants to keep those numbers low. I believe they went up to 15-1.
okay,
But the SAGE grant kind of went out, phased out. So we felt as the board that we needed to use our own money, district money, to keep that ratio. So
okay. And that's a pretty good ratio, 13 to 15 to 1. That's,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty good.
And
Because the
we-
theory is the smaller the class size,
Exactly.
the more direct interaction and support the children can get.
exactly.
Okay.
And again, coming from a small school, we are able to do that. When they get to Lakeland, it's a little larger. There are, I think there's like 700 some children there.
Yeah.
And so it's a big change for them. And it's our goal to make them prepared so that the transition can be as seamless as possible. There are problems, there are issues, then we deal with those
Sure.
as best we can. On both sides, at the grade school and at Lakeland. So.
And we're going to kind of backtrack a little bit. So you've been on the board, you currently serve on the board. How long have you served? And has it been a continuous stint, or have you had different terms that you served?
Well, for Lakeland, for Lac du Flambeau, it's been 21 years continuous
Okay.
service. At Lakeland, it's been 20 years with a break or so in there.
Okay.
1 year or so.
Okay.
But most importantly, Lac du Flambeau, it's 21 years. And the reason, I still remember the reason why I decided to run.
That was going to be my next question.
Is that at that time, I believe my two oldest children were in the school. I believe Lenny was maybe just gotten out into Lakeland High School. My son Scotty, I believe, was in the grade school. My son Gail was in. So I decided I wanted to have a voice for my children who were in the school in Lac du Flambeau. So I decided to put my name in the hat, and I didn't make it the first time, but I did the second time. So, and I feel that's important that a parent have a voice for their children, and also for all these children from Lac du Flambeau. That was my goal. That was my issue. That's why I wanted to run, to have a voice on the education of our children in Lac du Flambeau. And I feel that's important. parents should have that voice, and they can come to me and provide me with the issues and let me talk and be the voice at the school board at that level, so that, well, we got a surprise. There you go. So that they can have a voice in their children's education. And I believe that it's important that we Lactic Flammable members who have children of school age should enroll them in Lactic Flammable. I understand there's some other issues with others, but I think that's important, and especially as a school board member.
So, and this wasn't one of the questions, but kind of building off of what you just talked about, I think there's been this perception that people are taking their kids out of Lactic Flammable school, taking them to ABW, MHLT, wherever. And I've heard, talking to different parents, I've heard different reasons. Everyone has their own reason. But what do you see as a solution to that? Is there one thing, because I've heard like bullying is one of the reasons, school being unwelcoming, I've heard those things. Like what do you think, what could we do to keep those children here? Because obviously it's our community, and
Yeah, absolutely.
like you said, they should stay in school
Yeah,
here.
I talked to the board about that, and some of the ideas that I came up with is that I would like to have an exit interview with the parents.
Good idea.
And to honestly get the reason why they are removing their child from the school. Some of the issues that may arise, we can deal with immediately and maybe convince the parent to keep their child there. Or if there are other issues that we cannot resolve immediately, then we need to work on that as a board, so that this doesn't happen or continue to happen, or more and more people do that. And also, I think we need to work with the staff. We have a great staff. And like I said, as Lactic Flammable was a small school, there's like an intimate relationship between the teachers and the child and the children. Whereas moving on through life, getting into larger institutions like Lakeland, that's really not there so much. Or college, again, where class sizes can be 100 to 200 kids in a classroom.
Yep.
So, and that's life, and preparing these children for life, for issues of whether they want to continue with college, or if they want to continue with a tech ed school, or if they just want to go into a business to become self-employed, or whatever it is, into the military. We got to prepare those kids for that. But getting back to that, I think that's an issue that we should address somehow, because
I like your idea. To be honest, I've never considered that as the start of solving that issue, is providing or doing an exit strategy or exit interview with the parents and the student to find out really what was the problem, what resulted.
And along with that, there's going to be some concerns that may widen our eyes, and maybe we didn't know about at the board level.
Sure.
But again, if we do not know about that, then we cannot deal with it. So.
And I actually remember when you first ran for Lakeland School Board, because I believe I was living up on County D, and I remember you and your wife, and I think maybe one or two of your children coming to you guys were going door to door with flyers. And I thought that was really cool, because that's engagement, that's getting out in the community. So I appreciated that, way back then. Thinking back, you kind of jogged my memory. But okay, so how many children do you have? Because you mentioned that's one of the reasons why you started this
children.
journey. Awesome. And
5 of them went through Lactic Flammable, and right now my youngest, she's in 5th grade.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then what do you see as some of the, again, maybe one or two of the main issues that students right here in our community face in the community, not so much in the school, but maybe socially or, on a wider perspective? What are some of those issues that you think our students face?
Well, I think in every community, we always have to concern ourselves with the drug issue, the availability of drugs, the introduction of drugs to our children become at a younger and younger age, unfortunately. And somehow, we must deal with that. We got to, I think it's almost accepted, and that's kind of unfortunate also, but we have to deal with that. And we deal with it through the school, through the community, through the police department, through every avenue that we can, any department that we can, to educate our children on how to, going back to an old slogan, just say no. No to drugs.
That's a big, saying no is like the beginning of it.
It
So,
really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Anything else you'd like to add? Anything you think that's important that you'd like people to know about Judge Smith and your work on the school board and
Yeah,
some of the goals or
Well,
visions you have for?
Sure. I'll go with some of my accomplishments that I've made while I have been on the board
Okay.
for the past 20-some years. Most recently, within the past, I'd say, 5 to 6, 7 years or so, we had a change in our school lunch program.
Okay.
And the requirements that came to us, because we do get funding from USDA for our free lunch program, is that the nutritional side of our lunches, there was a big change. And that goes as to what can be added to the food to prepare it for our children, the salt, the sodium, MSG, all those things were drastically reduced. And we had to follow those dietary programs or risk losing our funding.
Okay.
Well, in the end, our children did not like that change very much. Meaning, and it's no fault of the caterer or the cooks. They try their best, but they are very limited with what they can add
So
to
they're
the
bound
food.
by what the
Exactly.
regulations are.
Yeah, and they're monitored.
Okay.
So our children were not eating as much as they should have, and also the serving sizes were very limited. So I thought, and I introduced to the board, the thought of the school, the district providing a salad bar, an additional salad bar, so that the students who maybe did not like what was being served for